I come back with lecture 4. Okay. In the previous lecture, we highlight the problem of compensation, just employing simple integrator. So next question is, what is the optimum structure for the voltage feedback compensation for this buck converter? That is the main topic of this lecture. And in addition to that, so we first discuss the structure of the voltage feedback compensation, and to determine the value of voltage feedback compensation, we need to know the control to transfer function. This is not new, but conceptually this is new. So we'll discuss that in this lecture. And the final structure of 3-pole 2-0 circuit will be identified, the optimal structure for the voltage feedback circuit for our case, okay? And how to select this 3-pole 2-0 circuit parameters, and that is the same as the how to design the shape of the loop gain. So designing the loop gain or determining the position of these poles and the zeros are called loop gain shaping. Okay, this means you are shaping the loop gain as your intention for the best possible performance of converter and the stability of converter. Okay, finally, I will shortly discuss the conditionally stable system. You will understand why I explain this. Okay, it looks not related with this topic, but it's very close related with this topic. Okay, let's move to the next slide. Let me explain this first. Okay, so voltage feedback compensation structure. Okay, so voltage feedback compensation structure is identified here, but for that you should know the problem of previous integrator. So initially this is necessary. This is the desired voltage feedback compensation structure. So final result of this structure is something like this, very, very complicated at first glance. Okay, so initially it should have what? Integrator. So this integrator is needed for DC regulation. If you remember this, at the zero frequency, gain of this should be infinity. Okay, that is the integrator. So integrator is needed, and this is the control to output transfer function. I explained this not yet. Okay, but later on you see this. Okay, this is the same as the Dewey ratio to output transfer function. Assume this is Dewey ratio to output transfer function times modulator gain Fm. So Fm is a constant. So assume Fm is 1, then it's same thing. Dewey ratio to output transfer function, it has a small signal gain and it has double pole. The slope is -2 and it has omega ESR at higher frequency -1. Okay. Problem of previous design was phase delay, additional phase delay here by -180 degree was problem. Okay. To eliminate that, to cope with this double pole, you place this 2-0, okay, in this compensation. This -80 slope will be gone. Okay, this -180 phase delay is compensated with this. Okay, then there is another problem. Okay, first let me explain this. The integrator is absolutely needed to achieve DC regulation, and 2-0 are used to compensate further 180 degree phase delay at powers double per omega frequency. Okay, then this should be somewhere here. Okay, if these 2 zeros are applied here, then we are just wasting these 2 zeros. 0 is boosting phase 10 by 90 degree. So to boost this, to compensate this -180 degree phase delay, this should be appeared somewhere here, around this, in the neighborhood of double per frequency. So we have another pole and another 0 and another 0. Okay, then this minus 180 degree phase delay is compensated, is removed. But problem with that is only you add this magnitude will be increased like this. Okay? So this is output of voltage feedback compensation, and this signal is fed to the input port of the PWM block. Okay? This is connected to the output of converter. So out of converter, there are a lot of high frequency noise. Switching frequency noise, some spike type. Spike has wide spectrum. There are many high frequency noise, and the high frequency noise is somewhere here. Then at the output of this voltage feedback compensation, noise is increased, amplified. Okay, so let me explain this. So there is a PWM block, and this is ramp function, and this is the control voltage. Okay, we are assuming control voltage something like this, but there is some noise like this. Okay, then this will create malfunction, right? So converter is not working. It's not a stability problem. This is a noise problem. Converter is not working with this. Okay, so you should knock out this high frequency things. Then you should apply this pole, one pole here. So with one pole, this will be this flat line, but still noise is attenuated this much. So to reduce this noise level sufficiently for the region of safe operation, you should add this pole here. So eventually high frequency asymptote of this voltage feedback compensation is smaller than -1. Okay, -1 or -2. Okay, but -1 is okay. -2, there is another problem associated with the stability of this converter. So this final structure of this one. Okay, from this is obvious. So at low frequency, we should have integration, and around this double pole frequency, 2 zeros are located, and after that, there are 2 poles are needed to attenuate. We have -1 decaying slope at the output of this voltage feedback compensation. Okay, so this is coming from voltage feedback compensation. This one. You remember this, right? This one. Okay, this is a V-cone. This is a PWM. Okay, and the lamp. I tried to avoid drawing this, but somehow I drew everything. Okay, so what is the final structure then? This one. Okay, so integration is absolutely needed, and the 2 pole is needed to compensate the phase delay at the double pole frequency. Here is a -180 degree phase delay, and this one compensates 90, and we have 2 poles, additional poles, to knock out this one, to have this decaying slope at high frequency to avoid this noise problem. Okay, so final result of this is this one. Considering everything, the optimal structure of this converter, so this is transfer function. So we call it 3-pole 2-0 compensation. There are 3 poles. 1 pole is here, another pole is here. Where is the 3rd pole? At the origin. At 0, origin. Okay? 3-pole 2-0 compensation is the optimal structure or minimal structure. You can have more things, but let's use this. So this is absolutely needed for 5 component here. So the circuit providing this transfer function is this one. Using OPM, this will generate this 3-pole 2-0 transfer function here. Okay, so transfer function here is this is a G2 and the G1. Then this transfer function is G2 divided by G1. Okay, actually we are taking out minus sign in front. Okay, so minus was here. Okay, so You know what I mean? Okay. Forget about minus sign here. Actually, this is the inverting amplifier. There should be a minus sign, but that minus sign is cancelled with another minus sign used to define the loop gain. All right. And this is the expression for that. So it has 3 pole, it has 2 0, and integrator gain is given by this. And this pole frequency is this one, and this 2 0 frequency is this one. Okay? And the magnitude of this is, here is Rx. Then at DC, this is open, this is the open, so R2. And Rx voltage division between R2 and Rx should be same as this V reference because of the virtual short at this ideal OPM. Okay? With that, this is given by this. When this is the infinity, this open output is always regulated at this value. Okay? And how do you know that this G2 divided by G1 is given by this expression, and this pole 0 is this one. This is factorized exactly. This is the exact expression. How do you know this? You derive this combination of series parallel connection, another series parallel combination, divide them and factorize this out in this fashion. There is the worst approach. During this process, I swear you will make several mistakes. You made a mistake, you make a mistake, and do it again. You make a mistake, it makes you crazy. Right? There is a systematic way of deriving this by just looking at the structure of this. Okay? Or if you have a desired transfer function, something like this, there is a way of directly constructing this and determining value of this to have a desired poles and 0. Okay? Either way is possible. Right? So that is the maybe one of the design-oriented analysis of the circuit. Okay? So details about that is covered in this lecture, YouTube site, Dynamics and Control of PWM Converter, lecture 5. Okay? The full details about this is there. So don't calculate this. Okay? Then you make mistake always. This is the circuit diagram of buck converter we will be discussing in this lecture and next one. And finally, we'll come up with how to determine this, how to value this. I said that this is the best possible design because I designed this. Okay, I know everything about this, so this is the best design. And from this condition, by looking at this, output voltage is 4 volt. Okay. Regulate this and the switching frequency, and 3-pole 2-0 circuit is used for the voltage feedback circuit for the reasons explained in the previous lecture slide, and the single feedback pass from the output voltage. So this is called voltage mode control, and this is the result of the simple calculation using this. If you plug in the value of this one to this expression, we will come up with this. Okay? Right. Okay? Okay. Today we stop here. Okay? So, in the Thursday, we'll continue from here. Right? Okay, this is a previous lecture slide. So somehow I'd like to remind this to you. This is the buck converter with complete voltage mode control. So every information is prepared here. So this is the final design. So we are using the final design to explain something. Okay, later on we'll follow the detailed procedure that illustrate the value of these compensation parameters. Okay, so we are using the result of design and the design process will be covered later. Okay? Alright. So this is the 3-pole 2-0 compensation. We went through this, and this is the reference voltage. So because there is no distance here, output voltage is always regulated at this value at steady state only. Okay, and operational condition. This is 1 over switching frequency. So switching frequency is 50 kHz, and there is a single feedback pass from the out voltage. So this is called voltage mode control. Okay, and we have this structure. From this structure, I told you you can immediately write down this equation. So this is the transfer function of this. There is no approximation here. So this is the exact expression, and I described the expression of each component of this in terms of this circuit component, and based on that result, we already evaluate this. Okay, I prepared this for you. So this is our final converter with voltage mode control. Again, the procedure of reaching this will be explained later. Okay. And we need to define an additional transfer function here. So this is closed loop controlled buck converter with voltage mode control. So forget about this part. Okay. So without this is the complete PWM converter, buck converter with this voltage mode control, and break here, and you inserted this here. Okay. So with this, we can measure something. That transfer function is called control to output transfer function. There is defined the small signal gain of from this control voltage to output voltage. Previously, we defined this duty ratio to output voltage, small signal transfer function. Okay, this is the exact time domain representation. Okay, but using this time domain model, exact circuit, this part, and just ignore this, we cut out this, and we added this. From this, you can measure transfer function from here to there, which is called control to output transfer function. So we are using computational method. I explained that method before. So we are using the time domain simulation. We run time domain simulation again, and to get the small signal result, frequency response of transfer function. Okay. So at this point, Vcon is a control voltage, but this is actually combination, sum of two components, and that somehow I moved to here. The component is, okay, let me use V1. Oh boy, it's confusing. I move this one from there because I want to show this, so I move back to the original place. Okay, so this is more convenient for some purpose, so I select this one and this one. Then actually this is summation, or it's given by summation of two components, which is, let me fix this. Okay, this control voltage with that situation, so some small signal excitation will be employed here as shown here. Then this one has two different components, which is DC component plus the sinusoidal AC component. Okay, and Vcon had this AC component is coming from here. Okay, this AC component, this is the coupling capacitor. So at this switching frequency, this value is very small. So showed it. Okay, showed it, and this is a unit gain buffer, and this AC signal is passing through unit gain buffer. It becomes AC component of this control voltage. So Vcon is same as VST, which is excitation, and this DC component of control voltage is coming from here. This is a DC blocking capacitor. So this voltage division by two resistors will appear here as a DC component. So R1 plus R2 in the denominator and R2 in the numerator times VD is some fixed voltage is DC component. Okay, so this is the situation. So we cut here, and we inserted this, and we are measuring transfer function from here to there. It's called control to output transfer function. Why is that? Because this AC is the same as here, so you are actually measuring this. Input is this, output is this. It's called the control to output transfer function. And control to output transfer function is this one. First, input is sinusoidal variation in control voltage. Output is change in duty ratio. Okay, so delete this. Okay, just to use DS. D is also this one. It has DC component and AC component. So we are only talking about this AC component when we are talking about the transfer function. So first one is input is this, output is this. Second one is input is this, and output is this. Okay, so multiplication of actually two transfer functions. Second transfer function is this. Our voltage. First one has the name. What is that? FM. That is the modulator gain, PWM gain, which is the slope of this ramp in the denominator. Okay, 1 over slope of this ramp, and the slope itself is height of this ramp voltage. Okay, so this is FM times GVDS. Okay, actually this is a constant. Okay, so by defining this, we call it control to output transfer function, and this will be used for the compensation design. But the AC information is the same as the duty ratio to output transfer function, and only difference is coming from this DC component, multiplication of FM, modulator gain. Okay, and we are using computational method. Okay, so this is the setup. You may use PSIM to simulate this. Okay, there's no connection. All right, and from the small signal analysis, we already know this. From the small signal analysis, modulator gain is 1 over VM, and duty ratio to output transfer function is this. Okay, and resonant frequency of this one. No, not resonant frequency. Don't call it resonant frequency. Resonant frequency is something else. This is just double pole frequency. And this value is okay. So you understand this one is in hertz. Okay, if you multiply that with 2 pi, that becomes radian per sec. And so this is the value of omega naught, and value of omega ESR CRC is okay. So assume this is the given information, and asymptotic plot of this transfer function is extremely easy. So low frequency value of duty ratio to output transfer function was Vs, but we have FM here because this is the control to output transfer function, and this double pole slope becomes -2, and there is the ESR 0, slope becomes -1, and at this frequency we have peaking. The magnitude of peaking is given by 20 log Q. Okay, so everything is known. Okay, so this is the PSIM model, 2 different model for which can be used the same purpose to evaluate control to output transfer function. First, this one is better. This is the small signal model of power stage. This is the PWM switch model, and this is the modulator gain. This is the magnitude of lamp. Okay, so lamp is varying from 0 to this 3.8. Okay, and this one is FM. Okay, of course this is the approximation, but this is very good approximation. I explained the complete details about this. This is just the slope of this line segment. Okay, so this is the small signal model, and this is the input to this small signal model, and this will be multiplied to this, and go through this will generate the control to output transfer function, which is this one, this blue one, okay. The one which does not have this spike is the small signal simulation, and this is time domain simulation using the computational method. So there is no small signal here. This is the exact cycle by cycle simulation, and this information, they are the same. Okay, and this is the steady state Dewey ratio of converter, which is 1/4. So D here is lamp, magnitude of lamp is 3.8, and this value is, this is the DC component. Okay, DC component, this is AC component. So steady state value of this is 1/4. So D here is 1/4, D is 1/4. So everything remains the same. Okay, only difference is you applied the small signal result here, and you blindly did some simulation without any knowledge about this small signal model. The results are the same. Okay, so everything is the same, everything same except this high frequency noise or high frequency deviation that comes from this numerical algorithm. The numerical garbage is amplified to generate this loud noise. Okay, and in this actual time domain simulation, there is some additional term not included in the small signal model. I explained every detail about this in the previous lecture, maybe topic 08, lecture 9 or lecture 10. Okay, so this FM is approximation, low frequency approximation, means this is valid for the low frequency only. Low frequency means somewhere here, maybe 1/5 of the switching frequency is low frequency. After that, something else is coming up. So prediction is not accurate, but it really doesn't matter because we are only concerning about the frequency range far below the switching frequency, maybe 1/5 of switching frequency. So should be okay. Okay, and I evaluate this. DC gain is, this voltage is 16, 20 log 16, and we have additional term here. So this is plus 20 log 1. This one is actually negative because this is the smaller than unity. So it is 12.5 dB. This is our prediction. And this frequency was previously, it was 1.2 kilohertz, and this frequency is 6.67 kilohertz. Okay, so they match with this our small signal analysis. Okay, of course they should match. All right, because we went through the small signal modeling and small signal analysis and computational method. In principle, this is exactly same as the experimental measurement of this. There are equipment called impedance analyzer, and the function of impedance analyzer is exactly duplicated in this computational approach using time domain model. Okay, so we know this. You know the transfer function from control voltage to output transfer function, and the remaining part is this one. We split here, okay, and the remaining part is what? This is a voltage feedback compensation, and the small signal gain from here to there is called voltage feedback compensation, FVS, okay? And in our small signal model, you are using notation of this. We are using this minus sign in front of this. And this is the output of voltage. And this is the input to the PWM block, which is called control voltage. So you have negative sign here. So minus FVS is transfer function between this. Okay. This is a non-inverting amplifier, so you should have a minus sign here. Okay. But actually, in the notation, this one is defined as minus FVS, then FVS. When you are talking the voltage feedback compensation, that is just the ratio of this one, G2S divided by G1S. G2S is the impedance representation of this circuitry, and the G1S is impedance representation of this circuitry. Okay, so we already know this. Okay, we went through this. So we have this circuit component, and this is a transfer function. Okay, we ignore the minus sign here because FVS is defined like this. Okay, and this integrate again, and one pole at origin, another pole here, the other pole here, and 1, 0, 2, 0, and expression is something like this. Okay, looks complicated, but if you see my previous lecture video, you immediately write down this equation. Okay, or if you have the desired location of this and this and this, then you instantly find out values of this. Right? If this one of this C2 is much larger than C3, then this C3 smaller one wins. This is the formula for the parallel combination. Okay, usually there is a two capacitance. One is much larger than this. Okay, usually then this can be simplified. When this is smaller, some smaller one be simplified here, and the larger one is simplified here. So you only use the smaller one and the larger one here, something like that. Okay, or you can use the expression as it is. It really doesn't matter. But if you want to simplify something, I forgot details. Okay, but that is very easy to figure out. Or vice versa, I don't know. Then it will be simplified a lot. Okay, it is shown in my book. Okay, and you can easily figure out. Okay, so this is our compensation, and this is the PSIM model. Extremely simple. Ideal OPM, and this is the G2, and this is the G1. So I added this one to have the sign inversion. Okay, transfer function is this one, not this one, because we considered the minus sign separately. So we need this. We need this for the sign change. This is required sign inversion. Oh. Okay, so just -1 is gain of this. Okay, and using these values and using this formula, you evaluate this, and I have shown this before. So this is the KD is integrate gain, omega G1, omega G2, P1, omega P1, omega P2. I marked them. First one is, this is F1. Okay, here frequency is in hertz. This is G1, FG2. This is FP1, FP2, and eventually this will go to 0 dB somewhere. I don't know. That frequency is what? That frequency is KB. Okay, this is the 0 dB. crossing frequency. So KB divided by 2 pi in Hertz. Okay, so this will be the relationship, and I marked the values here, and this is obvious. So we have the integration structure at low frequency for the DC regulation, and this is what? This is the first zero, second zero, okay, and the output frequency is somewhere in the middle, and we have this pole here at high frequency, another one at higher frequency. Okay, so this is the structure of 3-pole 2-0 compensation. Okay, so we simulate this. Okay, here to there and here to there. So everything is known. So the thing is how we come up with these values will be explained here. That is called loop gain shaping. Loop gain shaping means you want to select these values to have the proper shape of this loop gain structure. Okay, desired structure, desired shape. All right. So this is a control to output transfer function. It's shown here for your reference, but it really doesn't matter. Okay, but this is okay. All right. And loop gain is now this one is a control to output transfer function, which is a multiplication of modulator gain and the Dewey ratio to output transfer function times voltage feedback compensation is the loop gain. According to our definition, this is a loop gain, and this is the expression FM is coming here. So this is the GVCS. This is what? This is GVDS, and this is modulator gain, and this is what? Voltage feedback compensation, FVS. Okay, 3-pole 2-0 compensation, and this is the final result of. We'll go through every details about this. This is the final shape of this loop gain. Okay, so loop gain, low frequency value is very high, and the high frequency value is very small. And during this is very similar to the line segment, but there are some deviation from this line segment at this double pole frequency. We cannot avoid this because presence of the double pole, we cannot have this straight line, but the shape is very similar to the straight line, except two things. One is this part, and another one is we have -2 slope at this high frequency. Okay, if they are not there, maybe we have this is what? Structure of integrator, and we know this is the best possible structure for the loop gain. Okay, we went through this maybe previous lectures. Okay, but that is impossible. Okay, we need this. We cannot avoid this because the structure of this double pole is showing here. Okay, and you cannot have this -1 slope here because we have this 3-pole 2-0 compensation to eliminate the potential problem, noise problem at the output of feedback compensation. Okay, for that you have this -2 slope. Okay, we cannot avoid this, and we cannot avoid this. Right? Let's take a look at the structure of this. Okay, so there is some constant. So let's collect the constant here. This is constant. This is constant. This is constant. Okay, and we combine all of 3 constant here, and you have different name. KT is appearing here. KT. Okay, so this part they merged all together, and it became one parameter KT. Right, and the first thing you're gonna do is this is ESR 0 is known, already known, determined by the power stage value, capacitance, and its ESR. This is known. Then you place this first compensation pole at this frequency. Okay, so you place this compensation pole omega P1 at this omega ESR, so they cancel. Okay, so omega ESR was here, so omega P1 is here, so they cancel. If there is no omega ESR, this pole is changing the magnitude, but this is cancelled here. Okay, so this is our first design. Why we canceled this? Why we are doing this initially? That is, the reason is very simple. Because you cancel this with this, then in the middle you have this -1 slope for the longer frequency interval. That is very similar to this ideal shape of this loop gain. So we want to extend the -1 slope region as long as possible. So here you have -1 slope, you have -1 slope, you have something else here, but putting this is very good because we have this -1 slope here. Okay, everything is -1. That is ideal. Okay, but that is not possible. Okay, so we cancel here. We cancel here. Then remaining term is everything is combined into KT. You have S here. You have double pole and 2 0 and this high frequency pole. Structure is simpler with the cancellation. Then start from low frequency. This is integration. So the decaying slope is -1 and this frequency is KT. Okay, this is looking at the KT because when frequency is KT, this becomes 1. That is 0 dB line. So it's looking at this KT. But first there is a double zero is appearing here. Double zero is appearing here. So this -1 slope becomes this flat line, horizontal line. And next, this double pole is coming. So with this double pole slope is changed -2 here. Okay. Then this another 0 is coming here. Then -2 slope is changed -1 slope. And the -1 slope is maintained here up to this frequency because we already cancelled here. Okay, this one and this one. So -1 slope is extended in this region. And finally, we have additional pole. So slope becomes -2. Okay, I'll explain why this one is good later soon. Okay, so this is the way of shaping this loop gain. Looks complicated, okay, but if you practice this, this is very easy. All right. Okay. And the phase of that, I'll explain why we select omega G1 here, omega G2 here, omega P2 here. I'll explain that later. There is a good reasons for this selection. Okay. Anyway, the phase characteristic is start from this -90 degree because of this slope, and because of this 0, it goes up this 0 degree, and at the presence of this double pole, deep down to -180 degree here, -180 degree, and another pole is this one, okay, and then this is -1 slope, so it has -90 degree, this flat phase, horizontal line, and finally we have pole here. So final phase is -180 degree, and here is also -180 degree, and but this crossover frequency is very important. The stability of this converter is determined the phase characteristic of at this loop gain magnitude 0 dB crossover frequency. Okay, so difference between this phase and -180 is called the phase margin. So it has 90 degree of phase margin, which is almost the ideal one. Okay, so if to have the sufficient phase margin, loop gain crossover occurs with this -1 slope region during this frequency range, if possible in the middle. Is that good? Okay, if this pole approach to here, this will affect phase here. So phase margin will be reduced, and this pole approach here, or this crossover frequency moves to here, then this affect phase here, then phase margin will be reduced. Okay, the pole is affecting the phase, okay, of this one affect this frequency, and this one affect this frequency. To avoid those detrimental effect of the two poles, this is no. Okay, this is a pole. Okay, this is 0. Okay, 0 come earlier to have phase boost. If 0 comes later, there is a phase delay here. Okay, I confused with this one with the pole, but result remain the same. So 0 is boosting phase earlier, then you have a good phase boost. If this one comes later, then -2 slope is extending like this, then phase becomes worse than previous case. Alright? So let me take my word back. So you want to have place this one between this 0 frequency and the pole frequency. In the middle will be the ideal position. Okay? Right. So this affect phase here, and this -2 slope affect phase here. So this should be have the sufficient distance from this one to -2 slope, this one and this -2 slope. Okay, that is easier to memorize. Okay, one is coming from the pole, the other is coming from this -2 slope. Somehow it's related with the position of the 0. All right, so from this, okay, so we have with this we have very good phase margin, very stable. Okay, and previously this amount of this area, the area between this 0 dB line and this loop gain magnitude curve represent what? Attenuation, benefit of feedback obtained with the negative feedback structure. If this area is large, then the benefit of feedback becomes larger. Okay, that means input to output transfer function, audio susceptibility will be smaller, output impedance will be smaller, which is desirable for the closed system. Okay, so all information is shown here. Okay, so suppose this is crossover frequency. This is crossover frequency, omega CT. All right. So omega C is here. Somehow position of omega G2 is moved to this higher frequency. Okay. Then this phase boost is coming later. Okay. So with much longer distance, phase boost here is sufficient. If it comes nearer, then phase boosting effect becomes smaller. Okay. So if omega GC move to the higher frequency, then omega C remain the same, but phase margin will be reduced. Right? This is one information shown here, one easy information shown here. And if you increase KT, means you are raising everything here like this, then it increases the loop gain, crossover frequency, omega C. So omega C will become higher. Then means if this occurs here, then omega P is located here. So phase margin will be reduced. Okay, so this will reduce the phase margin. Phase margin will go down. Okay. All right. Then maybe another example. KT is reduced. Then crossover frequency is shifting to this direction. Then maybe the phase margin will be this loop gain crossover frequency omega C occurs at lower frequency, and that also decrease phase margin. All right. So there is just some design trade-off to place the omega C in between, around the middle point, by adjusting this. Okay. So this kind of technique is called loop gain shaping. I like this word very much, loop gain shaping. We are shaping loop gain for the desired closed performance to obtain the maximum benefit from the feedback control and ensure the stability with good large phase margin and gain margin. That is the eventual goal of this compensation design. So this is the optimal structure for FBS, for the buck converter with current mode control. Something other than this will deteriorate the performance. Okay? So this is the optimal structure, and some details about this is coming later. Okay. One important concern is why we are selecting omega G1, one here, another one there. Okay. The purpose of this is to improving the phase, to enhancing phase by 90 degree and 90 degree, because we already have minus 90 degree phase here, and there is another minus 180 degree phase delay at this sub-4 frequency. Then the phase will be minus 270 degree. To avoid that, we place one here, we place one here. Okay. This is the desired structure, and this is the best possible structure. Same effect can be achieved by placing this one here. You place omega G1 here and omega G2 here, or you place omega G2 here, omega G1 here, omega G2 here. Okay, that will achieve the phase boost here somehow. All right, but that is worse than splitting this one before this sub-4 frequency, one after this sub-4 frequency. There is an extremely good reason for this. Okay. If you consider only the phase characteristics of this, then you may think they don't matter. The position of this one, all together here, all together there, and one here, the other one here, will do the same effect at this point. Might be true, okay? But there is another very important reason not doing that, okay? So this is the best selection for that. That concept is related with conditionally stability of the system. Okay, this is some digress, some other story. I took this slide from my previous lecture. So at that lecture, I lectured about this conditionally stable system, the whole video, but I'm taking just part of it because I thought that is necessary here. So this is the reason why we are placing omega G1 before double pole frequency and another pole omega G2 after double pole frequency. This is the answer to that problem. Okay. All right. So this is the general discussion about conditionally stable system. You know, the Nyquist stability criterion. So according to Nyquist, then this is the trajectory of the polar probe of the loop gain, and it goes to this origin without touching this. System is stable. Okay, then system is stable, but it has some word conditionally stable. This is conditionally stable means this is stable, but if gain is reduced, gain phase remain the same, then means the shape of the polar probe trajectory remain the same, then this radius is reduced, so it's contracted here. Everything remain the same, and it is only contracted with reduced gain. Then for this case, this red one, it hit here. It becomes unstable. Okay. Now this is stable, but when gain is reduced somehow, system becomes unstable. Okay. That is called conditionally stable system. That system is extremely bad, very dangerous. Okay. I'll explain the reason why. There's another case of this type of scenario. System is stable. Okay. Stable means is something like this, stable. But if you increase the gain, then eventually this one expand out and include this, then becomes unstable. Okay. If the large gain destabilizes system and smaller gain destabilizes system, then why we are only concerning with smaller gain? Why is that? What is the reason for that? In designing the system, maximum gain is limited by your design. Okay? Suppose you employed some amplifier in the feedback path, you know the maximum gain of your amplifier. So the gain won't increase beyond the maximum value. You know that. Okay? But minimum gain can be reduced to 0 for all the cases. Okay? For all feedback system, gain can be reduced to 0. Right? I'll explain that soon in the next slide. So according to this, this is the conditionally stable system. And in terms of phase, conditionally stable system is this one. So phase goes here. This is a phase of minus 180 degree. This is minus 270 degree, 180 degree. Okay? Right. Then means what? This is the unit gain. Okay? Unit circle. So this radius is 1. Okay? So radius 1 means that belongs to the loop gain crossover frequency. Okay? Loop gain crossover frequency, phase is larger than minus 180 degree. You are stable with the phase margin of 45 degree now. Okay? But if it goes this direction, phase is at this region, phase is more negative than minus 180 degree. Which one is this? Okay? So this is a problem. If you have this, that means before crossing this unit circle, the phase is, this is the first quadrant, second quadrant for the first. In this region, system is conditionally stable system. Their system has a problem. So in terms of polar plot, the phase is first below, becomes more negative than this degree before crossing the unit circle. This point is the same as this point. And in terms of Bode plot, so in terms of the Bode plot, the phase becomes lower than this minus 180 degree before crossing this omega c loop gain crossover frequency. Same information, right? But you can predict this by looking the slope of this minus 1 slope means phase remains minus 90 degree. Minus 2 means phase is reduced to the minus 180. Phase minus 3 is phase is dipping down to smaller than this, more negative than this, and toward the minus 270 degree. Okay? So you should avoid this. Even though stability is determined at this point, if the loop gain has this region, then means what? System is conditionally stable. If you change this loop gain to polar plot, that becomes this, which is conditionally stable system. Okay, and explain why conditionally stable system is worse than unstable system. All right. Okay. This is an example. So this is the conditionally stable system, and somehow gain is reduced. The phase remains the same. Then it passes this critical point, and it becomes marginally stable, and it further decreases in magnitude. Then it encircles this point, and it becomes unstable. This is conditionally stable system. So when this gain becomes smaller, it obviously becomes unstable. All right? So, but you cannot avoid this. Okay? This is the gain curve for the some amplifier you employed in the feedback path, and this is the input of your amplifier, and this is the output of amplifier. This is a curve between them, right? Then this curve slope of this curve means what? Is the gain, feedback gain. Okay? So originally operating point was desired in this region, and you have large slope here relatively. Then gain is sufficiently large. System is conditionally stable, still stable, but operating point is moving here. Then all the amplifier has the saturation effect. Okay? So if this increase, the operating region goes here, it starts saturating, then gain becomes smaller, and it is the fully saturated, then gain becomes what? Slope is what? 0. Okay? So gain reduces a lot. Same occurs here. So you have the space craft satellite, man-made satellite. So in the ground, okay, in the terrestrial region, okay, then everything is fine. Your operational region was here, so everything is fine. My converter is super, okay, very good, all right. But somehow during the launching period, on some transient change, this operating point moves here, then immediately becomes unstable. Okay, the satellite is going down because of its power supply. That is a disaster, right? So to avoid this, for any system, this marginally stable system should be avoided. This is worse than unstable system. Okay, on the ground you test your converter, it is unstable. There you fix it, right? But in this case, on the ground, everything looks fine. But during this taking off, it becomes unstable, right? So the reason I'm explaining this is this one, okay? So we are placing 2 zeros around here. So this one is omega G2. G1 is here, omega G2 is here. So phase compensation will occur here. So phase here might be okay, right? But you have -1 slope and you have double pole. This -3 slope appears here. That means even though system is stable, this polar plot of trajectory, polar plot of this loop gain trajectory is like this. This is conditionally stable system. To avoid that, you place 1 0 before double pole frequency, another one after double pole frequency, then -1 slope goes to the horizontal line, and -2 slope, and we have 1 0 here, -1 slope. Okay, then polar plot of this loop gain magnitude curve, loop gain curve, something similar to this. This is stable, right? If gain reduces, this is shrink. There is no problem at all. Okay, it's entirely different from this situation. So to avoid this kind of situation, you should place first 0 before the double pole frequency and another 0 after the double pole frequency, right? Okay, I think this is the end of this lecture. Okay, so in this lecture, this is the loop gain shaping technique, right? So this is very important, and this appears over and over again until end of this semester, and this example is the most complicated one. Later on, we simplify many things with some design, then it's simpler than this. This is the worst case or most complicated case, but understanding this is extremely important. Okay, so this is called loop gain shaping, and we explored this region. We spent some time. This one, why you are placing the 2 zeros, one before the double pole frequency, one after double pole frequency. That is related with conditionally stable of the system, and to avoid being the conditionally stable system, we intentionally place 1 0 first and the other one after the double pole frequency. Okay? All right. Okay, I think this is the end of this lecture.